Big spectacle later on this afternoon. The former President Donald Trump set to appear in a Miami court after being indicted on 37 counts for allegedly mishandling classified documents after leaving the White House. Joining us now, the Bloomberg team, AMH in D.C. alongside Kailey Leinz in Miami with more. Kailey, just walk me through the next 6 hours.
Well, President Trump is expected to appear at that federal courthouse at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We may not actually see him arrive. He is likely to walk in via an underground tunnel. But what will happen once he is inside is he will be arrested and then processed. He could potentially have his fingerprint and mugshot taken. He could even potentially have to forfeit his passport. Then he will head up to a courtroom on the 13th floor, we understand, appear before a judge and plead not guilty because, of course, he has maintained his innocence related to these federal criminal charges. 7 charges in total, 37 counts of them. And of course, this is the first time in history a president will have been arraigned related to federal criminal charges. As for who will be with him in the courtroom, we understand it'll be his existing attorneys, Todd Blanche and Christie, after he unsuccessfully attempted to expand his legal team with a qualified lawyer down here in South Florida, despite interviewing potential candidates all afternoon yesterday. And then, of course, there will be who potentially could be outside of the courtroom. In addition to all of us journalists, there could be as many as 5,000 up to 50,000 protesters in Miami today, according to the police chief. Of course, President Trump has called on his supporters to come out and peacefully protest today, but security will be intense for any potential violence. And then, of course, once the events here in Miami wrap up today, President Trump is getting back on the plane to Bedminster, New Jersey. He will hold an event at his golf club there this evening, speaking at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, and then having a donor event. The campaign expects he could raise $2 million tonight after making history with this federal agreement in Miami this afternoon. John.
Back on the campaign trail, AMH, Governor Christie making comments, Nikki Haley making comments. What are they saying?
Well, you're starting to see the rhetoric really heat up against the former president and the criticism when it comes to Christie. We were all expecting this, given how we know he has spoken about the president recently. But this town hall, Jonathan, he said it was an ego run amok, vanity run amok, and he said he hasn't won a, quote, damn thing since 2016. He's a 3-time loser, and then repeated it, loser, loser, loser. That kind of rhetoric is now seeping into the campaign trail. And then you had Nikki Haley, Jonathan, the former president's own UN ambassador, yesterday really start to amp up her criticism as well. She talked about the fact that if what she saw in this indictment, if it were to be true about the handling of classified documents, talked about the fact that it would put, and she's a military family, it would put military men and women at risk. And she said it was reckless, Jonathan. Also, Tim Scott, while again he went after, quote unquote, what they would call Biden's justice system, many want to try to politicize this on the right. He did say it is a serious allegation, but then, of course, made sure he mentioned that you are innocent in this country until proven guilty.
Kailey, let's finish on this. Legal representation. Do you have a better idea at this time this morning as to what kind of legal representation the former president has?
Well, we understand that it'll at least be his 2 attorneys that he still had maintained even after 2 others resigned after this indictment came down last week. That would be Todd Blanche and Christie. But his attempts yesterday afternoon after arriving in Miami to get an experienced lawyer from South Florida who would be qualified and willing to represent him proved to be unfruitful. Of course, there are a lot of attorneys who seem like they don't want to touch this case either because of, even though it's high profile, because of the ramifications potentially of losing it. And of course, that indictment that was unsealed on Friday is pretty extensive, has photographs, has actual taped conversations between President Trump and others regarding these documents. And a lot of attorneys we've spoken with here at Bloomberg think that this is a pretty powerful case for the prosecution. Maybe there aren't many that are eager to go up against it.